Hello, and welcome to Cheers. That's one woman's opinion. I am your host, Carolyn Mills. Today we'll be looking at Season 2, Episode 16, No Help Wanted. This episode first aired January 26, 1984. It was directed by James Burrows. It was written by David Lloyd. Lloyd passed away in 2009 from prostate cancer. Guest cast includes Peter Ayacangelo, I think that's Angelo. I think that's how you pronounce it. As Victor Chapone. He passed away in 2021, undisclosed cause. Sam Scarbs as Lewis, Alan Koss as Alan, and Elizabeth Hill as Liz. Cheers is filmed in front of a live studio audience was said by Shelley Long. Oh, I almost forgot. I just noticed in my video here, my autographed picture of George Wendt is now hanging up on the wall. I got that back during the Cheers days. When Cheers was originally on. So it's on my podcast wall. I just got the frame for it. I actually have three other autographs, but I'm trying to get interviews with other the cast members that are still alive. So I'm trying to hold off hanging them until I get to do that. If I get to do that, and I'm hoping I will. I've contacted two, but have not heard back from them. So still working on that. Anyway, in our summary, cold open. Carla tells Coach, someone just ordered one of your famous Kontiki Tikis. Coach is excited to make it again. I looked this up because I've never heard of Kontiki Tiki, and apparently it isn't actually a drink. It's actually a group of different drinks in the Tiki Tiki cocktail family, or Tiki cocktail family. I don't know what it's called, but it is a real drink. He grabs a coconut shell and pours the ingredients in it, and then hands it to Carla. She tells him that he forgot to blend it. He explains he hasn't made it since last summer. He sticks everything, including the coconut shell, into the blender and turns the blender on, and the motor burns out. Where everybody knows your name plays. Hit my microwave and hit my microphone and it moved. Cliff says with genetics, soon they will create a huge farm will create huge farm animals like a cow that can feed an entire city or one egg that can feed an entire family. I would like to know where Cliff comes up with this stuff. I mean, obviously the writers write it, but where do they come up with it even? I mean, like the Normisms, they had said had been the hardest thing for them to write because they have to do it every time he enters. I gotta imagine these Cliff things are can't be too easy to come up with things so far-fetched and wrong, and yet people, I mean, he buys it. He believes what he's saying is real. Victor asks if Cliff ever stops talking. He tells Cliff that he's been talking for an hour straight. Cliff tries to make up with Victor, but Victor tells him, I don't like you. Norm asks Cliff how it went, and Cliff tells him that for some reason the man has taken an instant dislike to him. Sam comes out of his office. Coach asks if he's filled out the pool card yet. Sam says he's working on it. Diane says that hers is done. Sam questions why she does one when she dislikes football. But Diane says that in high school she was on the pep squad, cheering for whoever it was to do whatever they're supposed to do. I can so relate to Diane. I was never a cheerleader. We used to have fun telling them that cheerleading wasn't a sport. But I did go to a couple of the football games, and my mom asked me who won, and I said I have no idea. She said you spent a whole time at a game and don't know who won. I said no, but I can tell you what a tight end is because I went to look at the guys, not because I cared about football. Sam tells her she doesn't know anything about football. He asks him who he typo. She asks him who won last week. He annoyedly answers that she won. He says everyone gets lucky sometimes. She asks when the last time he won was, and he tells her 1974, but it's been a decade of upsets, which, if your math is bad, that was 10 years ago. Sam offers to help her win consistently. And this really made no sense because how can he help her win consistently when he hasn't won in 10 years? So if he can't win, how is he going to help her when she's been winning with no problem? Well, she won last week and she's been doing well. He starts with the Bears versus the Dolphins. Diane picks the Bears, explaining that a bear against a dolphin is not even a fair fight. Again, being clueless when it comes to sports and especially football. The only sport I get is really baseball, and that didn't happen until I was 24 in 2004. But I get this. Good way to pick a team. Um, Back in the day when my family and I used to go to the track, the horse track in Saratoga. I don't go anymore because I've since learned about the cruelties of horse racing. Yes, I said it. Um, but back when I did go, because I didn't know, my parents like would place bets for me when I was a kid and all that. I would literally pick my horses based on theater shows because I love theater. So no clue. I just knew somebody was going to win. My parents had the kind of like this where you pick the teams. They didn't call it a pool. They called it something else. I forget what it's called. Anyway, I filled them out. Same thing. I picked kind of like she did. A bear would obviously beat a dolphin. I like the color of the uniform. So I totally get Diane in this episode. Next, they look at Dallas versus Atlanta. She says about the color of the uniforms, explaining that certain colors beat other colors. Cliff tells Diane that the law of probability are complex. As he is talking, Victor comes out and tells him, Buddy, you don't know anything, so why don't you shut up before you prove it? Carla tells Cliff that she's ashamed to know him if he does not stand up to Victor, which is also another interesting line because Carla's basically ashamed of Cliff all the time, so this has nothing really to do with it. She's just generally ashamed. Cliff says he doesn't want to fight, but Carla says he doesn't have to fight. Just stare him down and make him back off. Diane tells Sam that Carla's encouraging Cliff to fight. I feel like Diane is kind of lying, basically, for lack of a better word right now, because she literally just told Cliff, you don't have to fight. So she's not encouraging him to fight. She's just encouraging him to stand up. Sam tells Cliff that the most violence allowed in the bar is the occasional love nibbles. Cliff approaches the man, referring to him as Beagle Breath. He tells Victor if he doesn't like how he talks, maybe he should do something about it. The man challenges him to a fight outside. Yeah, that didn't go well for Cliff. Victor goes out, and Cliff says he'll be out as soon as he pays the check. He then goes home through Melville's. He explains that it's the duty of all American citizens to know the emergency entrances and exits in a public place in case of an emergency. Carla calls him a chicken, and Coach agrees but points out he's a great citizen. Later that evening, Diane comes down from Melville's. She asks Sam how he did on the pool. He tells her that he got 6 out of 13, then changes it to 5, then 4. He says it was an upset across the board and asks her how she did. She said she went by cities whose symphonies are led by foreign born conductors. She says she got an 11. Sam looks at her selection and tells her she got 12 out of 13. He then bans all blonde waitresses from being in the pool. He tells Diane she's destroying the sport of football. Diane says she won't play in the pool, but now she can't test her theory on flowers. I kind of wish she had said what her theory was. We know Sam later makes the phone call trying to get information coming up. And my other thought was just like I totally relate to Diane. I think my entire family, who are all sports nuts, basically, and big time fanatics, when it comes to football. I think that's kind of how they feel about me. That when I would do these things, picking teams, they were basically thinking she's destroying the sport of football. In fact, one time I thought I almost had it, so I showed my parents with pennies how the football team was lined up, and I had pennies and nickels to have two teams, and I had some of the team playing on the I guess there's a line that's 50-yard line, I guess, is the midway. It's 100 yards, yeah. So I had some of the team on the opposite side, and my mom thought it was a good idea to have spies on the team, but that's not how apparently it's played. So yeah, they gave up trying to explain it to me. They spent years and years, decades. They just, well, my parents all their life heard. about two of my decades. They missed the third one a little bit because mom died when I was almost 29 and dad died when I was almost 28. But yeah, it's a lost cause, and I still find football barbaric. But like I said, in 2004, I got baseball, and I am a diehard Red Sox fan. Cliff comes in with Lewis, a coworker at the post office. Carla asks him why he brought the mussels. Cliff says they go way back, and Lewis calls Cliff Chris. Norm says that Lewis looks like an athlete, and Lewis says he's a fighter. Cliff says he didn't know that, but Lewis responds, "That's what you asked for in the ad." Sam is on the phone trying to get information about the state flowers. Victor comes in and Carla rings the bell announcing round one. Cliff said that he's a man of peace. He tells them about the studies on the Y chromosome. Victor gets angry and tells Cliff they are going outside. Cliff says that would be rather rude to my enormous friend Lewis. I love how Cliff says Lewis's name in that line. Victor tells Lewis that Cliff acts like an authority on everything, and he never shuts up. Lewis says he does the same thing at the post office, and then he leaves, wanting nothing to do with Cliff. I do believe we see Lewis in at least one more episode. There's at least one more, but I don't know if there's any others. So I know at some point we are going to see him again. I just don't remember when. I know why though, but I won't say because I don't want to give it away before we get to it. Cliff tells Victor that he is a black belt in karate and his hands are lethal weapons. Victor tells him he's going to the back to shoot pool, and Cliff better be gone by the time he returns, or they're going outside. Carla can't believe Cliff used karate as a way out of a fight. Diane thinks Cliff used good judgment. Cliff says he's been secretly studying for years. Norm points out that none of them have heard about it. Carla adds, and they've heard about everything from Cliff. Cliff says he doesn't brag because of spiritual attainment. It's a testament to how good of an actor John Ratzenberger is, and we'll get to that in a little. Yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit. I'll come back to that. Sam comes out of the office. Diane fills him in. Sam asks, "Karate, Cliff?" as he laughs. Coach asks him if he knows karate. Why did he bring in Lewis? Cliff explains they are supposed to avoid fighting whenever possible. Diane and Coach tell Cliff they believe him. Carla adds, "I believe you, Cliff. I believe you are a big dink." Victor comes from the back and says he told Cliff to get lost. Sam asks him, "Are you going to throw out all my customers?" Victor says that if Cliff will admit that he's a coward and a liar, he will walk away and never bother him again. He tells Cliff to admit it or leave. Cliff leaves the bar. Sam kicks Victor out. I thought, why didn't Sam kick Victor out before he totally humiliated Cliff like that and had Cliff leave? I mean, they still could have had the same concept that nobody believes Cliff about the karate, and he still could have done the next scene. But it's almost like he just wanted to sit there and watch his friend get humiliated. Sounds like a Carla thing. Just a thought. Victor says, "That guy brings out the worst in me." The gang are all saddened that Cliff left. Cliff returns with some bricks and a board. Carla tells him that Victor already left. As he removes his shoes, he explains he's going to show them what he can do. He has Norm hold the board. Sorry. He has Norm hold the board and has Carla hold the brick. Carla tells him that he's crazy. Cliff kicks the board, breaking it, and then he breaks the brick. Everyone applauds. Cliff says, "Now that I have proven my point, goodbye to you all forever." They encourage him to stay, and Alan offers to buy him a beer. Cliff agrees, but says he needs a moment with Diane first. He tells her that he's never taken a karate lesson and asks her to drive him to the hospital. Diane says goodnight, and she adds that Cliff is walking into her car for her protection. Cliff asks if anyone has a problem with that, And they all say no. And when they're outside, Diane carries him up the stairs. I gave this episode 4 out of 5 beer nuts. It was a good cliff-centered episode. Nothing really, for the most part, stood out other than our MVP here, which is of course John Ratzenberger. He does an amazing job. He I said earlier the testament to how good of an actor he is. With you see it a lot in this one where he talks about different things, and obviously throughout the series, none of his trivia facts are ever right, but he says with such authority. So I mean, the trick with acting is reacting to what other people say. And he's basically just totally BSing everyone, including himself, because he's like, yeah, this is true, this is true. He never acts like you never see him like, pulls it over on them. He believes what he says is true. That's pretty good acting right there, because he totally believes it and he goes with it. Best dressed was Sam Malone. Grand Slam line. Cliff has a board and some bricks. These are for you, my so-called friends. Coach says, thanks, Cliff. I needed a brick. Our on baseline, a little bit longer on this one, between Sam and Diane, starting with Sam. Are you telling me you're picking Atlanta over Dallas because of the color of the uniform? Dallas, who up until last week won 6 games in a row, and who beat Dallas. Washington, but and what color were they wearing? None of your business. Here's a little known fact. John Ratzenberger is indeed uh has studied karate. He is a red belt in karate. If you like this episode, I forgot to get myself out. If you like this episode, please like, subscribe, and follow, and comment and all that jazz. And I'm tangled up in the wires here. And as always, I lost a card. There it is. As always, you can join the Facebook group. Cheers, that's one woman's opinion. Oh, we gotta turn the light off. I turn on to see better, then it gets too bright for this. There you go. You can follow us on Instagram at Cheers One Woman's Opinion Podcast. You can follow us on Twitter X at One Woman's Opinion. And you can always email us with questions, comments, etc. at Cheers One Woman's Opinion Podcast at gmail.com. Next week, we will be looking at Cheers Season 2, Episode 17, Fortune and Men's Weights. Also, the Ted Danson movie birthday rewatch. His birthday is December 29th. It will be the movie Three Men and a Baby. So that will be up on his birthday. And just so you know, 2 days after his birthday is BB Noor, so I'll be doing another rewatch on Christmas Eve. I am taking those Christmas Eve not Thanksgiving, New Year's, those 2 holidays off. Um, so there won't be next week. There'll be the podcast, and then for Christmas Eve and New Year's, there won't be. Sorry, Christmas Day. Christmas is on Thursday. So I'm taking those off. But the 29th will be the movie rewatch, and I'll be asking everybody, so you can go ahead and comment on any of the things I just showed. What is your favorite Phoebe North movie? Because she was born on her New Year's Eve. And also, I have an announcement that will be coming up in the beginning of the year when, not next week, but when I come back in the beginning of the year for the regular podcast, there will be an announcement. I will be looking for some people, and I'll give you some more details about that as next year. But I will see you all on next week for Fortunes and Men's Weights, and the 29th for Three Men and a Baby. And that's one woman's opinion. Thank you.